Good Sunday morning. I want to thank God for the opportunity again to be with you, to share with you from God's Word. I really enjoy the morning worship and the time of fellowship, and I know that many of you have been looking forward to Sunday morning when we can meet like this and give God the praise for the mercies that we enjoy. We must be very careful not to spend our time murmuring and whining over what we have not been able to enjoy because of the stipulations time-wise. So we give him the praise, we give him the glory and the honor. Let me remind you that we have been talking about living fear-free in a fear-filled environment. And I trust that you have been taking some notes and that what we are doing today is a continuation. And if you have forgotten what we did last week, you will be actually missing a link in the chain. Let me express our feeling of condolences to the family of Brother Pelham. It's always not too pleasant when we hear of the death of our members, but we rejoice in a measure because we have been instrumental in speaking into their lives, and we know for sure that to be absent from the body is to be present with the Lord. And so while we miss them, while we empathize with the grieving family, in our heart, deep down on the inside, is a sense of thankfulness to God that what we have been able to make impartation into a personal life, and to know that God has used each of us to make sure that this is a soul that will never again see any evil because the enemy was not able to make him forget his commitment to God. So on behalf of all of us, we want you to know that we are praying for you, and whatever you could do, if you can get in touch with the family members, do that. I've been trying to contact his daughter. I've made several attempts, but I've been unable. I believe that there are some people who are somewhat wary in actually answering the phone when they see a strange number. And I believe that this is the reason that I have not been able to talk to his daughter. But we keep on praying and believe that God will actually open the doors for making everything comfortable for them and for supplying all the need that would be necessary for the funeral. I am so thankful to God that I've been kept in touch by Sister Wendy, and I really want to commend you, Sister Wendy, for the wonderful job you are doing. All right, you remember we have been talking about living fear-free in a fear-filled environment. And we have discussed the importance of the word fear. We saw last week where even before the time of Christ in the Old Covenant era, God saw it fit to remind people that they need not to be afraid. By the way, it would be a wonderful thing if you have a concordance, a Strong's Concordance. Look up at the word fear and afraid. You'll be surprised how many times God has actually admonished his people not to be afraid. And that tells us, beloved, that there will be fearful, fearsome elements in the environment that we live in. And even after Jesus came, he came to bring the era of grace. And grace, the era of grace, was actually introduced by God sending an angel to try to allay the fear in the heart of those whom he was actually going to use. For example, we saw where the angel came to Zacharias, the father of John the Baptist, and told him, don't be afraid. Then the angel came to Mary and told her, don't be afraid. The angel came to the shepherds and told them, don't be afraid. The angel came to Joseph, the husband of Mary, and told him, don't be afraid. So God knows that fear would be a very conscious element upon the face of the earth. And we saw whereby salvation does not actually take you out of an environment of fear. Whether you are saved or not saved, you live in an element of fear. And so last week we ended on the caption entitled Environmental Realities. We had just begun that. What I mean by that is we need to sensitize ourselves that we, as long as we are on the face of the earth, we will be facing realities that can bring fear environmentally. And I want to emphasize that, beloved, we are not immune. Jesus was very particularly careful to tell the Father, in John chapter 17, I am asking you not to take them out of the world, but to keep them from the evil. And one of the evils, beloved, among millions of them, is fear. We are going to be bridled and saddled. And what we have been doing here, or attempted to do, is to try to sensitize you that surrounding us are elements of fear. And I began last week just to touch on the book of Deuteronomy chapter 20 and verses 3 and 4, and I ended there, but I want to continue starting from there. And the point is this: God had brought the people of Israel, led by Moses, after 40 years at the bottom of Mount Horeb again. They were there 40 years before. And so Moses is receiving from God instruction. And it's a very, very instructive to observe that at the end of this discussion by Moses, he was going to die. This was going to be Moses' last exhortation. And in that chapter of Deuteronomy, chapter 20 and verses 3 and 4, we can categorize 4 important things that God actually tried to communicate to the people of Israel. And one of them was the journey of life. If you were to read those 2 verses again, 3 and 4, there are some very important issues I think we should definitely pay attention to. One of those things is that God was saying to them, look, the remainder of your life is ahead of you. This is going to be a brand new start. You are going to face some realities in life that as long as you're alive, you will not be able to keep them out. You have to live with them. They form the environment. And in the journey, the first of the journey of life, look how God adjusts them there in Deuteronomy 20 and verses 3 and 4. First of all, he brought to their attention the reality of challenges. You are going to face challenges. Look at verse 3. You approach this day unto battle against your enemies. God does not try to make us feel that when we are serving him, that we're going to be caught up in the clouds and sheltered from the realities of life. That's why the Bible says the temptation that you and I get are the same temptations that every ordinary man gets. But the difference is God making the difference. Whereas the unsaved man has no buffer, whereas the unsaved man has no means of overcoming and conquering, God is saying, but you, and the word but is a strong word, but God is able to give you the power and the ability to face that temptation and not become defeated and not become the loser in the temptation. Here is God is saying, you have now approached your enemies. Now, beloved, he said, come on, folks, you are in the middle of a challenge. You are on no bed of roses right now. You are in no, dream sleep right now. You are facing some real issues of life. And this day, right now, you have approached and you're in the very presence of your enemies. But God is saying, come on now, you are not to facilitate fear. Reject fear. In verse 2 said, let not your hearts faint. Fear not, and do not tremble, neither be terrified because of them. So, this actually thrills me. It causes us to put our feet on the ground and take our eyes out of cloud nine. It makes us come to a point where we are not living in delusion or illusion, but we are sober. We are looking at the realities of life as they really are. Now, why am I belating or actually delaying talking about this for so emphatically? It's because I know, beloved, that the enemy can actually deceive people, trying to accuse them. And don't forget, he's the accuser of their brethren. Let them feel that if they are saved, they ought not to be able to face certain conditionalities. Where is God? You're serving God. And I don't serve God like you. I don't call upon God like you. I don't pretend to love God like you. I don't pretend to be a God man like you. And look, you and I facing the same thing. You ain't different from me. And you can begin to say, my God, maybe something wrong with me. Because if I were truly saved like that man is saying, I should not be in this predicament. Yet, my friend, we are working in the same place, in the same marketplace. We live in the same environment, in the same society, with the same tribulation, with the same government, with the same banking, with the same economy. We are in the same boat like everybody else. But God is saying the difference is you are not a victim. You are not to be conquered. Don't be afraid. The enemy is there, but don't be afraid. Don't tremble. Don't let your heart faint because of them. Thirdly, why it could happen? Because God says there is divine providence. In verse 4, for the Lord your God is he that goeth with you to fight for you against your enemies, to save you. That is the difference. You see, beloved, God being there does not kill the enemy. Being a born-again believer does not mean that you're not facing the realities of life. Now, I don't need to go into medical part I know you understand what I'm saying, but to consolidate the fact, beloved, not because you're a born-again believer, that a young woman will not go through the natural cycles of life because she's saved. Not because you're a born again, that when you're giving birth you don't feel pain. Not because you're born again, that you're not going to feel tired upon your job. Not because you're born again, you're not going to find people coming against you and to try to oppose you. Matter of fact, they're going to oppose you more because you are born again. And that is what God is saying. There are challenges, realities of life, but you are not to give way to fear. And thirdly, understand that God said, I am the one who is with you. I am fighting your battles. And the last part of that verse, I underscore that because it is a blessing to all of us. God says to save you. What God is saying there, you are not going to be the loser. You are not going to lose. You're going to be saved out of it. And so in the battle of life, as you walk along, as you live your life from day to day, you are going to face certain realities. Secondly, in life, God has magnified the idea that there'll be material needs. As you and I live upon the face of the earth, we could have ourselves been anxious and be afraid because we are facing the same thing, material needs. Beloved, you understand that being a born-again child of God, you can't afford to sit down in your house and say, the Lord will provide all my need, the Lord will take care of me because I'm better off than the sparrows. And you wake up in the morning and just simply sit on the edge of your bed and refuse to go and look for work or refuse to do anything. No, we all have the same type of need. And we are going to look into the Word of God. You remember the book of Kings, chapter 17 of 1 Kings and verses 13 and 14. You can turn to and keep the book open there. 1 Kings. And it is the story of Elijah. Famine is in the land. Animals and plants' life is being wiped out. People are starving. The ground is not providing or yielding fruit. And people are in dire strait. Rivers and brooks are drying up. And God told Elijah, all right, Elijah, you go to a particular cove, a little stream near to Jordan, and I'm going to take care of you there, and I'm going to send the sparrows that they're going to bring food for you. And that happened. But the Bible says the time came when the brook dried up. And here's where, beloved, God comes in. When the brook dried up, God said, Elijah, I want you to rise up and go to Zarephath. I have made arrangement for a woman to take care of you. Look, beloved, one of the things I want to understand is this, that God knows where the supply of the next need for you is. God knows where the source of your supplies is. He knows that I have taken care of that. I've spoken to a widow in Zarephath, and she'll take care of you. So Elijah got up and went to Zarephath. You know this story quite well. Saw the woman, a widow, has one son. And Elijah called her and said, hey, could you please bring me some water? And while she was going for the water, he said, and by the way, when you're coming back, bring me a morsel of bread so I can eat. And she said to him, sir, I have nothing like that. I have a little bit of flour and a little cruse of oil. It is just enough to make a meal for myself and my son. And after we have had a meal, we are going to die because there is no hope anywhere where we can have a second meal. And Elijah said, all right, ma'am. And he spoke a word in verse 13 that I want to bring to attention. First King chapter 17 and verse 13. He said to her, fear not, be not afraid. Go and do like I told you, because God has given me an undertaking that if you obey what I told you, you don't have anything to be afraid, because God will make sure that as long as the hardship exists upon the earth, as long as the famine lasts, your little bit of flour and your little bit of oil will not run out until the environmental situation changes for the better. I love that. Fear not. Don't be afraid. Don't allow the reality of the scarcity. Don't allow the reality of you having nothing else. Don't allow the reality of the fact after you scrape the bottom of the barrel, that the end of your existence. Don't allow that. God will change that. Don't be afraid. And the woman took him at his word. And she brought the piece of cake and gave to Elijah. And the rest is in biblical history. As long as she dipped in that barrel, the flour kept on increasing like the picture. As long as she poured that oil upon the dough, the bottle of oil replenished itself. Because God told Elijah, I have taken care of the future. So, you beloved, in our living on the face of the earth, yes, when there is an occasion of scarcity, it does not exempt you and me. It does not exempt your household. We're in the same environment, in the same place, in the same marketplace. We go into the supermarket place and the shelves are empty. When you walk inside there, because you are born again, it does not mean that that thing is going to pop up on the shelf. And when you walk out, they disappear. No, beloved, we are going to walk into the same marketplace where the unsaved walk in with nothing on the shelf, with prices gone skyrocketing above the ceiling. But the difference is, God is saying, you don't be afraid. Yes, you face a frightening scenario, filled with fearful things, but don't be afraid. And the point is this, that woman had to take the word that was given to her and let her fear subside. And she had to take the initiative of investing in the interests of God rather than allow herself to be ruled and regulated by what her eyes were seeing and what the reality of the environment really was. And I want to tell you, beloved, in a time like this, and I understand that things are going to be, right now in America, there is chaos in this country right now. 2 days ago, I was listening to the television program, news, and there were so many ships to be offloaded with goods, services, that one man, and this is not a speculator, he is the man in charge on the docks in the marketplace. He said, there are so many containers to be offloaded that if we were to put them in a line, container behind container, it will stretch for 600 miles. In one port alone, there are 85 vessels waiting to be offloaded because there are no longshoremen, there are no workers. You see, Mr. Biden has told people to stay home, and they're paying them more to stay home than to go and work. So why must I work if I can get more money at home than if I go and work my heart and my soul out 8 hours a day? And they're now beginning to fear it will be a bleak Christmas because of lack of supply that are still on the boats or still in the containers. So it doesn't look too good. But hear me, beloved, we are not to panic. God said, don't allow your heart to melt. Don't allow yourself to panic. God is saying in that scenario, fear not, don't be afraid. And I want us to understand that if the situation does not change, the people of God must understand that God can bring deliverance from some other quarters. God can open doors. In spite of what happened, God is able to. He proved it in the time of Elijah. And he will prove it again in the time of Elisha. So in our time of need, material need, you may lack something, beloved. You may lack things. You may lack some necessary things in life, but I will deal with it a little later on. And many times you can find yourself talking the language of the unsaved. What am I going to do now? How am I going to make out? How will I take care of my children? How will I take care of this and that? Things that are so bad in guava season. And you can allow yourself to lose your sobriety, lose your faith in God. And it is good to remember, God knows what is taking place, and God knows the source of your next supply. That's why we look not at what we can see, but we look at what we can see. Thirdly, what makes us concerned and can cause us to be afraid, not only the journey of life, not just simply our material needs, but also we can allow fear to come because of societal danger. Societal danger in the society that we live in. Societal danger. We come to 2 Kings again, and chapter 6. It's now Elisha, the successor to Elijah. And the Syrian army have surrounded Dothan, where Elisha is. When his servant opened the door on the morning, he saw chariots like grass on the mountain. The whole city of Dothan was surrounded by the Syrian army coming to take one man, because the king was told, the biggest humbug in the city, O king, in the kingdom, is a guy called Elisha. For everything you speak in your bedroom chamber, he knows. And he tells the king of Judah what you're doing, what your plans are. So they came to take Elisha. And when the servant opened the door the morning and he saw the scene, his heart began to melt. He said, "Oh, master, we are done. We are done. This is the end of us. There's no way for us to escape." There's no way. And in the book of 2 Kings, chapter 6 and verse 16, here was what Elisha is saying. Hear me, beloved, these were realities. The young man was not seeing, something that wasn't there. It was real. It was factual. And let me remind you, beloved, these things in the Bible actually took place. It is not phantom. It is not a theoretical thing as an illustration. They actually happen. It is real. And I want us to understand that, because we can read the Bible and think, well, no, the Bible is only an illustration. It is not. It happened. It's historical. A real kingdom existed called the Assyrian kingdom. It was real. A man called Elisha was real. And a city called Dothan was real. And here it is. And here's Elisha, calm and cool as the cucumber. And he said, "Fear not." Don't panic. Don't lose your equilibrium. Don't faint, man. Fear not. For they that be with us are more than they that are with them. The young man did not see that. But beloved, remember, we walk by faith, not by sight. What you can't see does not mean it is not a reality. You might not know how many angels there are right now surrounding your house, surrounding your room. You might not know that. And I am very conscious many times of the presence of angels. I am very conscious of that. God is not sleeping Beloved, he who keepeth Israel will neither slumber nor sleep. The Lord is your shade. He's your shield. He's your buckler. He's your protector. He's your strong tower. He's your fortress. And you haven't got to see it. You just have to understand. The young man could not see what existed. But that does not mean that it did not exist. So Elisha said, fear not, for they who are with us are more than they who are with them. That can be thought that Elisha has blown a bulb, blown a fuse, or a screw gone slack. And when he realized that guy couldn't understand, he said, Father, open his eyes and let him see. And I want to read to you what happened when God answered the prayer of Elisha. And the Lord, verse 17, and the Lord opened the eyes of the young man, and he saw the mountain full of horses and chariots of fire round about Elisha. Now, read the story for yourself in 2 Kings. You know, it will bless you. It will bless you. And remember, the Bible is clear that the devil could never outdo God. He can't. He cannot. That's what you are saying. The Bible declared that you and I were sinners, having no hope. But the Bible says, where sin abounded, grace did much more abound. And every time we look at the circumstances, we look at the scenario, we look at what we see, and we allow ourselves to be panicking, and we allow the faith we have in God to go out of the window. And we begin to panic and begin to grieve and we begin to cry and begin to, all these things. We drop our faith. We allow our faith to vanish. Because many times the only faith we have is the faith we talk about, not the faith we exercise. A time does come, you have to learn to exercise your faith. Anybody can talk faith. That's why James said, you say you have faith? He said, show it to me. He said, you say. So it is easy to say. The only faith that some folk have is the faith they talk about. When come to demonstrate it, when come to practice, when come to enact it. And James said, but I will show you my faith by my works, by the things I do, by my performance. And we need to come to a point, even though we can't see, we understand the reality of the fear. It was real. And God is saying, don't be afraid. The refusal to be overcome by fear. And thirdly, God's outdoing the whole thing. So when you're facing danger, understand you are not seeing a mirage. It's real. Sobriety tells you it's real. Don't think it's a mind over matter. It's real. It's there. Then secondly, understand. Don't give way to fear. And thirdly, understand that God will always outdo the opposition. God, greater is he who is in you than he who is in the world. We do understand that. And the fourth thing that we will have to safeguard again in the world we live in is concern over future world events as they develop. Concern. In other words, these are environmental realities. The Bible declares that things are going to happen. First of all, you are concerned about your own self, your personal well-being in this time, your personal well-being, because of your safety as to your safety in the world. You are concerned about growing old. What will happen to me? Will I end up in a home? Will my kids abandon me? Or I have no husband? What will happen to me as I become old, retire, and can't work? And beloved, this is a concern that many people have. The concern of old age, the concern of when they become feeble, the concern of when they can't work. And it is not anything to feel that you backslide. It's a reality of life. Whether you like it or not, as long as you live long enough, you're going to become old. You're going to become old. You're going to lose your strength. You're going to lose different things. This has nothing to do with faith or lack of faith. Nothing at all. But hey, beloved, the Bible makes quite clear that God has catered for you in the time of advancing age. Hear what David said in Psalm 37 and verse 25. He said, I have been young, and now I'm old, yet have not I seen the righteous forsaken, nor his seed begging for bread. In Psalm 71, he faced the same reality like you and I face. In Psalm 71 verse 9, he said, cast me not off in the time of old age. Forsake me not when my strength faileth. Yet, my friend, you're going to grow old. You're going to find your strength leaving you sometime. But the Bible says God is taking care of you. You don't have to be afraid. You can go to your bed and sleep like a child. Wake in the morning refreshed, because the God to whom you have surrendered your life is taking care of you. Look at a fellow called Isaiah in chapter 46 and verse 4. And even to your old age, God is talking to Isaiah, I am he. And even to hoary years will I carry you. I have made and I will bear. Even I will carry and I will deliver you. God is saying when you become old and feeble and your hair become gray, God said, I will carry you. You are not going to carry yourself, but I will carry you. I will bear you. Say, I am the one who bear and I will carry. In other words, I'm not going to abandon my responsibility. I brought you in the world. I saved you. I gave you salvation. I prolong your life. I gave you long life to satisfy you. It is my doing, and I will not shirk my responsibility. I will take care of you, says God. Hallelujah. Amen. And we can believe that, we can live by that. And Jesus told the people one day, I'm going to come to a close here, in the book of Matthew chapter 20. And you can look it up over the weekend, this coming week rather, and verses 20 and 30 and 31. He said, look at the sparrows. He said, they don't sow, they don't reap, they don't do this, they don't do that. He said, fear not, don't be afraid. Look at the sparrows. That you are worth more than sparrows. Now a sparrow, we don't have a sparrow right now. They were very small, insignificant birds. If somebody was poor to the point he couldn't give a kid or a lamb, he brought turtle doves or the small sparrow. He would bring at least 2. They were the least noted, valuable. But God is saying, you are worth more than sparrows. If I take your sparrows, insignificant, unimportant, unimpressive birds, won't I take care of you? He said, don't be afraid. It is the Father's good pleasure to give you the kingdom. And Jesus Christ has gone out of his way to make sure that we don't allow ourselves to be saddled with fear. And I believe, beloved, that in this environmental realities that all of us are facing, it's important to observe that God knows all about it. He's in charge. As you commit your will unto the Lord, the Bible says He will sustain you. And I pray, God, that today, that somehow God has spoken to you through His word by the instrumentality of the Holy Spirit. And they are not just simply words that mean nothing, but they're going to regulate your attitude, your behavior, and your expectation. May God bless you. I want to pray for you. And maybe something I said has become very important to you. I want you to meditate upon it right now. Father, in the precious name of Jesus, I give you thanks. And across the spectrum where our voice is being heard, I pray that the word of God will become a rhema and become relevant and pertinent into somebody's real need right now. Let the Holy Spirit make the word live and become useful in regulating our thinking and our living. Bless every household, I pray. Heal those who are sick in their body or their mind or their spirit. Let the joy of the Lord flow and become their strength, Father. I commit every person into your hand right now, and we give you praise for doing it. In Jesus' name, amen. Time goes so quickly. I'm only halfway through. So I'll be with you again next week, Sunday, to continue. We are talking about living fear-free in a fear-filled environment. We are not finished yet. We have to bring it to a conclusion to bring out the real meaning of the text. Living fear-free in a fear-filled environment. God bless you. Sister Anthony, Terry, Wendy, send greetings to you. And we are keeping in touch with you. Take care of yourself. And may the God whom we serve bless you and cause everything you put your hand to succeed and to bring you good success. We love you. Take care of yourself. Amen.